Hey guys, we got another episode of the Doom of Fools podcast. Today, for the first time on the pod, and probably forever, we have a Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer, Gabriel Nassif, better known as Yellowhat. What's going on, Gabe? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great and happy to be here.
Cool. Thanks for coming on, man. I just gotta throw out a couple of those compliments because a couple of my friends that listen to this and a lot of people, they weren't watching Magic 20 years ago. Your background and how'd you get into Magic?
I started playing in middle school. My friends were playing during what's it called in English, recess, right?
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And I was like, what are you guys playing? What are you guys doing? And just started from here. And then I found out, like the local, it was a video club at the time by our school that sold the Magic cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out about the place in Paris where people went to trade cards and play Magic. There was a shop, like kind of a D&D comics book shop that where people and then I found out about our local game store that was pretty big place in Paris, and just went, just down the rabbit hole, really.
Okay. What year was this? And was it big over there in Paris? Because I know it blew up in Japan and America.
It was pretty big in Paris, not as big as in the States, but I think it was, we were probably one of the biggest country Magic wise, and
cool.
And yeah, in Paris, I mean, we had there was a magazine that was called the Black Lotus, well, in French, but Le Dix Noir, and it was pretty big. Yeah, people would meet up in front of one of the universities in Paris. Just kind of, that's where the shop was, so people would trade outside, and didn't get out of the subway station. It was like a bunch of people with binders trading cards, or some people playing and stuff. So
cool. So from transitioning from there, how long did you play that like casually with your friends and getting into it until 2001, 2002? You were second in Grand Prix. Like, how long did it get you to like play the competitive level? Did you jump right into it? Did you play it casually for a couple of years?
Well, I started playing in middle school, so I was, I don't even know, 12, 13, and then my friends who started playing with me, or I started playing with them, they didn't get as serious as me. I was kind of the only one in the group too. Yeah, it was really just what I said, first, the local stores, and I found out there was, a magazine, and I was like, oh, there's a ProTour, and I was looking up deck lists and so that was I started playing at the Ice Age, I think, so 1995.
Oh wow.
And then I won my first PTQ during the European Championship in Paris. It was block constructed. It was Mercadian Mass block constructed. So yeah.
What does that mean?
It's a format. It's constructed, so it's like standard, except it's less sets. It's just one block. Back then, they used to release Magic sets in block of 3 sets usually. So there was like the first sets, those usually more cards, and then 2 smaller sets. So that was just one of the constructed formats. So yeah, that was my first PTQ win, and I played my first Pro Tour in Chicago in 2000, and that's one of the many Pro Tours Kai won.
Right. Yeah. Going from 2000. So it looks like from 2000 to 2009, you played like consistently. Was that a lifestyle? Was that like a full-time job? What is like, I would love to dig in the backstory of a pro player. Like, is it 24/7 traveling and playing decks and testing decks and going to game stores? Like, how do you travel and go to all those events and consistently top like that for 10 years straight almost?
Yeah, I never considered myself a Magic professional, but I just, when I was a teenager, and it was my whole life, is basically only thing I did outside of school, it'd be just straight to the local game store, spend every weekend there, every evening there, every vacation there. We just, just basically only play Magic, me and my friends.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it, of how I got good. I was lucky to, you know, be born and live in Paris, in a big city where
Mhm.
there was actually other Magic players and really good Magic players, so the best Magic players in France. So that's how I got really good at the game. Just, obsession, right place, right time, everything kind of perfect mix. Just no big secrets.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
yeah, and yeah, I qualified for my first Pro Tour. I did well enough to make some money, but not to automatically requalify for the next one. You had to get it in the first 32, top 32. Only I got like 40th or 50th, and then a year later, I won a team PTQ, a qualifier. It was the team format this time for Team Pro Tour, and this time we came in second, and the weekend before that, I'd come in second in the Grand Prix, losing to Kai both times. So Kai literally won the first Pro Tour I ever played in, and then
Mhm.
beat me in the finals of my first GP top eight, and then beat me in the finals of my first Pro Tour, top four.
Yeah, you got
So,
recognition. Yeah.
yeah,
Got your
but
rival at that point, I guess. Kai.
like, I mean, more about like my nemesis. I was still, up and coming player. He was already,
Yeah, yeah.
best player to ever play, or him and John. So,
Mhm.
so that meant that like these two like top two finishes meant I was qualified for every Pro Tour that year. So I got to start chaining them, and
Cool.
I managed to basically never fall off what they call the train, the Pro Tour train, the gravy train, just
Mm.
chaining qualifications, doing well enough year after year to stay qualified. And then I won the two Pro Tours, and in 2010 I got into the Hall of Fame. And at that point they kind of gave you a kind of a lifetime invite to the Pro Tour.
Oh,
But yeah. I said I never considered myself a Magic professional because first I went to school, and then when I dropped out from college, it was to play poker. So basically from 2002 maybe to 2000. Well, for a while I just played poker and Magic. I did both,
yeah, yeah.
but I was still playing a lot. I was still playing a lot of Magic, and then I don't know if it was the Hall of Fame or kind of a coincidence, but after that, I kind of got less serious, and I started focusing more on poker, and basically I would only play Magic a week or two before each Pro Tour. So, there'd be like let's say five Pro Tours a year.
Mhm.
I'd get together with my teammates, we'd get together in the house. That was always a fun part, getting together with your friends before a big tournament and practicing. And then I would occasionally do okay, but it's really hard to do well when you're not playing a lot, and I was not playing enough. So
Mhm.
there's that, from basically 2010 to 2000 to COVID 2018, where I have like no Pro Tour top eights, no big finishes, a few top 16s, but that's
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to touch on the poker a little bit later because it looks like the top 10 players in the world, a lot of them were really good in poker as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I think we fast forward a little bit. So let's talk about like 2001, 2002, 2004. You did a lot of second places. You did a lot of tops. So and then 2005, you got your first win in Atlanta, your Pro Tour Atlanta Team Limited. What was that like to finally get a win? Maybe it wasn't individual yet, but what was it like for grinding the 4 or 5 years and then finally going over the hump? Like, yes, I did it. We did it together. What is it like to be one of the top Magic players in the world at a point in time? Like, please, I would love just I can't fathom that. Like, did you just walk around? You just felt like you were better than everybody, or were? It's hard to stay humble. You know what I'm saying when Magic's as big as it is, and you and your team are the best. So, what was it like playing in that tournament specifically, and then going over the hump and winning?
I mean, it was not expected. I actually teamed was so I didn't have a team. Like we every year I'd play with a different team almost, and so that year I wanted to play was my good friend from Canada. Dave Rude. He was also a really good like limited player, just good Magic player, and he did well in teams before, and we wanted to play together. And he just suggested we team up with Gap Sang, who competed some of the first ProTours. He was one of the original, best players in the world, and but he wasn't playing much Magic anymore. They were playing World of Warcraft together, and I was like, sure, why not? I guess I didn't play. It wasn't that big of a deal to me if if you didn't play that much, and it turned out, it just worked out. He actually like I had never met him before, and we just got a few drafts in, like practice drafts in before the tournament, and now that tournament's kind of crazy. We're doing poorly. You had to get 4 wins, at least 4 wins out of 6 rounds on day one, and we got 2 losses early. We were 2-2. It was split 1-1, and the last match was on Gab, so he had to win, and he was like super far behind. The story is kind of funny. Me and Dave started splitting up our rares because it was sealed deck, so we thought he had lost it. Like, he was just, there's no way he's gonna win. And so we walked away. We started splitting up the rares, and we came back, and the game was still going, and just turn after turn, he like crawled back. I don't know. I don't remember the exact game. I just remember us thinking like, how did he win this game? Just.
You counted him out. You're counting your cards to go home with your tail between your legs. And he goes, "Hey guys, what are you doing? I won." And you're like, "What?"
No, we came back and started watching the game, and we were like, "Oh my God, maybe there's a chance." And he won, and then we won the last round to make day 2, and then we won every draft. Like, day 1 was sealed deck, day 2 was team draft. We won the top 4, and it was, I don't know. It didn't feel like anything that special, honestly. I don't think so. It was the same when I won my team PT, because it's kind of gradual. It doesn't all happen all of a sudden. You make it to day 2, then you make it to the top 4, then you're like, okay, when you're semifinals, and then you're in the final, then you're like, oh, we have pretty good decks. I think we're gonna win, and I don't know. And it's not like at that point it was, I'd already had good finishes, and I knew I was a good player. I think other people knew I was a good player. So there's a bit of the same thing for the Hall of Fame, because it wasn't like a big surprise when people voted me in some ways. It was nice and stuff, but it's not like it comes out of nowhere. So it's not like, wow, all of a sudden it's, So
yeah, you're very humble. You're one of the best players to ever play this game.
it is honestly, it's easy to be humble when other people recognize your worth, or at least think you're good. You don't have to really say anything or do anything.
Right, I see what you're saying. And also, you're playing with the best players in the world. You said Kai Bud. He's top 3 players as well, and John Finkel. So you're playing against these guys. So you're like, I ain't shit compared to these guys. And then you win, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I am. Okay, cool.
It's like at first you're like, you're like, oh, you've never beat, like, you don't think you can beat these people, and you just level up. I guess you're like, oh, maybe I can compete with these guys. Maybe I'm not. There's not that big of a difference, and and also, honestly, the second place thing is something I had a lot in poker too. Like, I used to play in the World Series event, and I got a bunch of second place, but I never won a bracelet. And after a while, I just realized that it's not that big of a deal, honestly.
Okay.
To not win, like, the difference between the guy who wins and the guy who gets in second is just, maybe a few lucky hands, maybe you make a bad play, and on the other day you would have made the right play, and and maybe I say that because I've had success. I've won in Magic, so I have won sometimes, but I feel like in the end I realized, the extra money would have been nice between first and second place, of course, but there's so little, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But I mean, that's the way I see it anyways. I'm sure other people would view things differently. I mean, I'm very competitive, but also, whether it's Magic or poker, it's there's still like some luck at the end of the day and
Right.
a lot of variance and
We're gonna talk about your luck a little later. I'm not. I don't know if you're a lucky player, but you have the most famous luck videos ever with Magic. But we're gonna talk about that later. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about poker a little bit. I was gonna talk about your '09, but I want to go to poker. I love poker. My brother, he plays with Bendy. He's a professional player. I believe he's in the Hall of Fame too. They play poker all the time, and it seems like every really good Magic player plays poker. How similar is it? Because we all say, Magic is like chess or like poker. So it's all about the skill and a little bit of luck, right? But in case, I don't know, is it Texas Hold'em or Blackjack you're playing? I believe it's Texas Hold'em, right?
yeah.
So, like, what's the similarities? How come you're so good at poker, even though your background is just a Magic player? Is it a lot similar than we think it is?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same qualities. And also, just back then, it was a lot about knowing people who were already good at the game because poker was fairly new. Well, like Hold'em and online poker was fairly new, and a lot of most people were just bad, and just knowing people who were good or less bad was just a huge boost. I discovered poker when I was in the US staying with American Magic players, and I was like, same with as for Magic. I was like, what are you guys playing? And they're like, oh, we're playing online poker. I'm like, oh, can you show me? So they showed me, and I got back to Paris. I started playing, and we had, uh, in Discords, and Ancestor IRC, so we could chat there, and just being able to talk about hands and strategy was other Magic players was just such a huge boost at the time where there was a few books, no online forums really, or very few, no coaching, no this, no that, no resources really. So but also same quality, also just maybe the mindset of how to get better, not just blaming bad luck, or just learn from your mistakes and be honest with yourself, and that part probably helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, with like poker, you can't. There's not a lot of prerequisites with the deck you can do, right? It's not like Magic where your Dragonstorm deck or your deck in and out, and what you're gonna top deck, yada yada yada. Poker, it's every hand is different, and everybody does the same thing. But what I think the biggest thing with poker, like in real life, not just online, spell table, or on Arena, is I'm sure with Magic, you know how to play, you know how to read your opponents, and you know if they have it or they don't have it, right? Is that probably your biggest skill set with poker compared to Magic? Because Magic, you can't really bluff, right? There's not a lot of bluffing. You have it or you don't have it. But poker, a lot of it is, hey, should I push forward here? Should I go back? Should I be the control player? Should I hang out? Right? Is that the similarities, I assume?
Actually, I don't think the bluff board is that huge. In Magic, you can bluff, you can represent cards. Some people do it more aggressively than others, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a bit the same in poker. And like the reading thing, some people are decent at it, but the vast majority of people can't really read other players. Honestly, I feel like that's one of maybe misconceptions some people have, that you can get a lot of reads and lifestyles, but a lot of time it's just hindsight and bias and
Mm.
um
Okay.
you know so no, it's really just the kind of the strategic approach, and
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah, just
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
I got you. I got you. Well, I want to segue into your 2009, your Pro Tour. You have in February 27th to the 1st, you have a standard and booster draft win in Coyote, and then in Chicago, I believe the next weekend or the weekend after, you won Legacy in Chicago. So back to back Pro Tour and Grand Prix wins in 2 weekends. You win. So you have to talk us through winning that. That's your first individual like big win. How did you pull that off? And we have to talk about your legendary hey, I'm gonna the top deck, I'm gonna put all my mana here, and I really hope it's a cruel ultimatum, and then you rip it, and then that's what puts you in, I believe, the top 4. Can you give us a play-by-play on winning that championship and that play specifically?
Yeah. We practiced in Michigan was Mark Herberholz, Patrick Chapin, I believe Manuel Bouchard, is a player from Switzerland, and maybe we talked a bit was Guillaume Fotapa before the tournament. And it's kind of funny because that was the first split format Pro Tour. Before that, it used to either be a constructed format or booster draft format. And I've always done really good in constructed Pro Tours and never as good in limited except teams. So when they announced that they were making these new formats where it's kind of half and half or a little more constructed, but I was like, oh, that sucks. I do much better at constructed, and now that there's draft in every Pro Tours, I'm less likely to ever win a Pro Tour. And then I ended up winning the very first, so it was kind of ironic,
you think,
in some ways. So, yeah, I did okay. Yeah, I did okay in draft. I did good in constructed. I don't think it was like my best constructed deck ever. It was a good deck, but I don't think it was like anything like super special, but just good enough. And yeah, the call shot was just trying to, just enjoy the moment and make the best of it. And my the story kind of my we were playing basketball one time in LA with a friend, and he just tries like a silly crazy shot, and I'm like, why do you do that? And he's like, well, if you miss, no one will remember, but if you make it, it'll be like a great story. So that was kind of maybe what was going through my mind when I started
half-court heave. You were dead.
Yeah.
Like that, you were losing, you were done. That was it.
Yeah.
And then you pass the turn, and then I think he thought seized you, and you're like, all right, this is it, man. I think you're at 4. Both of you are at 4 life. I just watched a video a little bit ago. I think you're both here at 4 life. Take us back to 2009. When you drew the card, you set it on the table, you played with it for a little bit, and you're like, all right, I think it was like 30 seconds. And even the people that were narrating it were like, oh, he's putting everybody in expense. Is this the ultimatum? Oh my God, he did it. Like, to take us back. Like, was that crazy? Did that place explode when you did that, or what? Were you like, I'm going to buy a scratch off lottery ticket?
I mean, if you watch the video, I think you can hear the crowd and you can see it on my face. I'm just kind of in disbelief, just kind of shaking my head and smiling and just,
like, oh yeah, let me reanimate this thing. I forgot that it does that.
No, it was.
Oh, I love you staring at your opponent when you passed, right? He has like 2 life. You stare at your opponent. He drew the card, and you're staring at him like, bro, I know you don't have anything. And then he looked at you, and then he said, all right, good game. And you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. So when you won that event, was that, I don't know, that was the standard booster draft, or is that the legacy event?
That was standard and booster draft.
Right. Okay, so that was your first event winning by yourself. What was that feeling like? Because the first one was team limited, and you've been doing this 8-9 years. And like you said, Kai Bud was kicking your butt, and you've been trying to get back, and then you finally win one. Was that the same like the other one? You're like, whatever, it's fine. Or is that like, holy shit, I did it? Like you call your parents?
Taking it. Honestly, I don't remember, but I've always been, fairly even keel. So it was super nice, but it wasn't like, it's kind of cheesy, but I believe it's true. It's more about the journey than the destination, and it's really just I think it's the same way when you win a tournament. It's not just like one moment. It's everything, and your friends and your teammates, and just
Well, you just won the World Cup of Magic. Did you do like a heel click? Did you take all your friends out? Like, there's got to be something. But I'm with you, because the next weekend you won a Grand Prix. The very next weekend.
Yeah.
No. You save some wins for the rest of us?
I'd never won an individual major Magic tournaments. So I guess, yeah, that was kind of so random. And it's funny because I beat LSV in the finals of the Pro Tour, and then he built a deck. I don't know if it was his cards, but he gave me a deck list for the Legacy tournament, and I won was his deck list. So it was, yeah, no, it was crazy back-to-back weekend, and
It's all big blur.
yeah, probably, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think 90% of Magic is skill, but I think, I think somebody was looking down on you. I think luck, a little bit of luck. You have to admit, a little bit of luck helped you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who wins a tournament needs to get lucky. There's
Right.
no secret, but yeah, I do believe Magic is also just mostly skill and like not that much luck in a given tournament. I think
Right.
if a player was to play like perfectly a whole tournament, he'd be like a massive favorite to at least top 8. So I think like even the good players, like there's a lot of mistakes. Like people make a lot of mistakes.
But also, like, doing the calling your shot thing, like, that wasn't the finals, right? So you had to be like, holy shit, that just happened. Okay, now top 4. Now you have more
Yeah,
to play. So if you didn't win that whole thing, it might not have been as big. But that put you
yeah.
over the hump. And now you have to. How do you, as one of the best players in the world, how do you like compose yourself? Like, just know me, all my friends, we're trying to grind for tournament CEDH now. How do you go, oh my God, that was the biggest moment ever. That was crazy. Okay, breathe, take a drink of water. Now I still have Magic to play. How do you compose yourself, and what's your mindset going to the final pods after that big moment?
So honestly, I'm not sure. Just usually once I sit down to play, I just you kind of forget about everything else and
Okay.
just focus on the game. So yeah,
Gotcha.
I usually I get nervous and stuff, but once the game starts, it usually goes away, and it's fine. Just trying to focus on one game after another, and
Right.
yeah.
Right. So what you're saying is before the tournament, that's the nerves and that's the stress and that's everything. But the second you sit down, there's a switch, right? There's just like a, hey, I'm here, I'm playing Magic. I don't care about anything else. Nothing else matters. This is what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I got you. I understand now.
Also, like in Magic tournaments, I mean, the stakes are pretty high, but they're not like life-changing high that it will in some ways, once you make top 8 of the Pro Tour, that's almost like like winning the round that puts you in the top 8 in some ways is almost like the biggest, maybe the most stressful one, or the one where you get the most nervous. And once you're in the top 8, maybe you feel like, which maybe not a great mindset sometimes, but you feel like you've already you've made top 8, you've qualified for a bunch of the next tournaments. So maybe it's all like less stressful in some ways.
Yeah, and outside looking in, before 2009, you've been doing this for 10 years. You've been at the big tables for 10 years in a row. So that's probably why you're like, yeah, this is just another tournament. Like you consistently did this. So I see what you're saying. Someone like you've been doing this your whole life. Someone like me, I can't fathom a room of the best Magic players ever, but you're one of the best Magic players. So outside looking in, is that like a prodigy thing? Do you think you were born just with certain specific skills to make you like, can someone train to be like you? Because you are the top 3, 4, 5 best players ever. Or do you think it's genetic? Like I'm trying to get some sauce to be a better player, and you just make it seem so easy.
I mean, I think it's like in sports, it's combination of genetics and right place, right time, and luck and all these things. Honestly, I feel like whenever I listen to interviews, like a lot of athletes, when they talk about that stuff, it's very relatable. I think on my dad and on my father's side, they used to like play bridge and stuff. Actually, I used to play cards when I was a kid with my dad a bit, and then my mom used to play board games with me. And I grew up in Paris. So I was, imagine I grew up in the middle of nowhere. There was no internet, no Magic Online, no Arena. So
Right.
couldn't even play Magic. So I grew up, I had a bit of, my family's not rich, but we were like fine. So I had a bit of money
Mm.
to spend on Magic,
A little bit.
and we had a nice game store, and I won qualifiers when it mattered. I was able to like kind of snowball, and then once you're doing well, you can afford to spend more time on it. So there's just a massive small snowball effect too, and kind of combination of all these things.
Okay. Do you have any advice for someone maybe they can't like go over the hump and to get into the Pro Tour? Do you have any advice for them? Is it just grind and go at it and play as much as you can, or maybe they're stressing too much? Is there for one of the best Magic players in the world, could you give somebody advice to try to go over that hump like you did?
Well, I got lucky in some ways because I never really had to play too many qualifiers. I got kind of over the hump really fast, but I would say just find players that are better than you, or go maybe to your local game store and become friends, or try to make friends and just play against the good players, or maybe find a community online. You know, don't like be honest with yourself. And I would say also just if you enjoy the process and the journey, because that's 95% of it, or 99% of it. So if you're not, it doesn't, it's what I was talking about. When you win a tournament, it doesn't like magically change, or if you call so if be sure you actually enjoy, if you're going to spend a lot of time on it, that you're having fun, because
Okay.
it's always a grind. Even when you're doing well, you're always like, instead of being, oh, I did well at this Pro Tour, you're like, oh, I did well, I qualified for the next one. Instead of, so you're always, there's always a next tournament. So yeah.
Okay, I got you. So maybe have a good friend group, or go to LGS, surround yourself by good players, and put in the work is what you're saying. Like, yeah. I agree with you. Like, there's a little bit of luck, but a lot of it is skill. A lot of it is perseverance. And I know some players myself that they're good players, but like in the moment they always punt, or they can't focus right, or they're fighting with their ex-girlfriend and you can't, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get over that. Like, yeah, you're a good player on paper, but now when you have 1,000 people watching you and you make one little mistake and you're, oh man, that sucks, and then you're mad, now you can't get back into the game. So you're saying is, hey, get a good friend group, practice, make it a thing, and also, act like you've been there before, right? Leave your feelings in the car, right? That's my best thing of it is, hey, I don't care what you have going on at home. You're here playing a Magic tournament. Hey, yeah, I just did one of the craziest things ever. Would call my shot, but now I have a tournament to win. Like, I'm not going to celebrate third place. I'm here to win, and that's what you did. So
yeah, I mean, ideally, you're able to like focus on the game at hand. Also, probably helps if you don't have a girlfriend. But I'm just saying that I didn't really have a girlfriend until pretty late, so I was just obsessed with Magic. So
yeah,
I mean, it's literally all I do. I mean, I'm joking. It's like fairly bad advice. Balance. It's tough, because you hear all these people say, oh, all these people who did well. I literally I watch a YouTuber that plays basketball professionally in Europe, and he talks about what his, one of his big regrets is like not having more balance, and not focusing on other things. But I feel like I'm not sure if it's true, because that's not how you get really good at something. You get really good at something by being obsessed, but it's also probably not a good thing in overall, because it worked out for me. But maybe if I'm a little less lucky, instead of being one of the 2 or 3 best players in France or whatever, I'm like the 5th best player or the 6th best player. I'm still really good, but not quite good. Maybe Magic doesn't work out and poker doesn't work out. Maybe I never find out about poker, and maybe I spend too much time on Magic and didn't focus on university. And
I got you.
Maybe I don't know, or maybe I find something else, and I'm like, quote unquote, gifted or, smart and this and that. And
Mm.
I, I end up doing okay in something else. But so it's really hard to know. There's like insane bias, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that you have, you can't teach. Like how good you are with draft. Like I can't draft worth crap. My brother is one of the best drafters I know. So it's hard to be like, hey guys, if you see this, you see that, draft this, draft that. Stuff like that comes with playing and knowing what you're doing. You can't teach that. You can't just say, hey, yeah, buddy, do this. Their
No,
thought process is totally different than yours because you've been there and done that, right?
well, you can, but it's a lot of practice and,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, probably, some people are like more naturally, what you were talking about, genetics. It's that in sports. It's, it's like in sports,
Yep.
it's like if you're like, oh yeah, this guy gold medalist. Oh, by the way, his two parents were also Olympians. It's like, they're like, there was a stat. There's like a baseball player is the son of a baseball player is 800 times more likely to end up in the Major League Baseball than the random kids. Just
Right.
there's
Right. I got you. Yeah,
so it's not to that extent in Magic because Magic's not as big as baseball or football or whatever, but it's not as competitive because there's not as much money and there's like less of a gap probably. But maybe because also it's not as professional and people don't try as hard. But yeah, it's kind of the same but a different scale. But yeah, same principle, I guess.
I gotcha. I wanted to talk about what's probably your favorite archetype or your favorite Magic card and possibly your favorite like competitive deck of all time. Like what does Nassif like playing?
Yeah, so I'm known for being a control player, so blue-white control, and it's tough. There's been so many decks. Definitely Enchantress deck was Argosian Enchantress, like enchantment deck. That was the first deck I made top 8 at French National was a standard Enchantress deck. And then I came second in a Master Series, which was a really small field tournament. It was a lot of money. I was an Enchantress deck. I mean, completely fairly different deck, different format. But so yeah, I would say like Argosian Enchantress is one of my favorite cards of all time. Force Spike and Crystal and Sliver too. One of the first big local tournament I won was a sliver deck.
Oh, gee, you're that guy.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but
well, I'm a Commander player, and Commander players hate slivers.
I really want.
Because the sliver tribal, you go to a casual Commander game, and this sliver tribal 5-color deck just smacks everybody turn 4. They're like, all my slivers have first strike and double strike and gain, and this is just like, slivers.
Like Commander.
Yeah, and you're.
Maybe I should play Commander and Sliver.
Yeah, right. Oh, that sounds great. So, have you ever played Commander, and would you ever consider playing a game of CEDH or no?
I've never really played Commander, but
okay.
I could see myself getting into. There's dual Commander that's pretty big in France, I think.
Oh yeah,
is what it's called. Yeah, it's 1v1
Commander. Yeah,
competitive.
Yep, that's a lot of fun. Yep.
And they have it on Magic Online now. And
do they?
Yeah, they have dual Commander leagues. You can just play it on Magic Online.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe it'll be a ProTour format one day. Why not? If people really enjoy it and it's a good format in pubs or so.
Yeah,
I could. It's really big in France, so people have been invited to tournaments, but I never go and.
Right.
But you never know.
Yeah, me personally, just talking a little, I think you would absolutely love it. And then Commander itself is a 4-player game, and that's a whole nother, can of worms you're opening. But there's a lot of players like Brian Kovold from Legacy and Reed Duke. A lot of those players, they play CDH and they're doing really good in it. It's just another competitive, it's just another format really. And a lot of players that, hey, I played in the 90s and the 2000s and I've done a lot of work in 60 card, it's an easy transition to come over. But yeah, I think you would do great with Dual Commander. Just imagine the decks, the crazy decks that you build, right? Like the draft decks, but you find a commander that the synergy, it's all about synergy. Hey, all this stuff goes with my commander, and then I could do crazy things with this said commander. Like Slivers is insane. That right? Like I really think somebody like you, that's my dream, and that's why I got into this podcast, is to try to get people to play more CDH in Commander. So I'm really glad that you're like, hey man, maybe I will try it one day. That means the world to me, dude, because I think you would be absolutely insane. So with that being said, were you? Someone told me you were retired, but it doesn't look like it. I see you stream and you have a huge YouTube channel, which I'll put in the description below. You play a lot of like online arena and stuff like that. Do you play still competitively or in real life, or do you plan on going to the 2024 PT?
Yeah, I don't know who told you I was retired, but I was kind of, I was like semi-retired for, that 8-9 years period of time where I was more focused on poker. And then about 7.5 years ago, I quit poker and I decided to give the streaming a try. I streamed a tiny bit on Twitch, playing some Magic, and I enjoyed it. So I decided to give that a try. And
you're killing it, by the way. You're killing it.
Thanks. and that went well. I see I had the chance. I knew I was not going to start from zero, because that's the tough part on Twitch. When you start with literal 0 viewer or 1 viewer, it's really hard to break through. But I started already, I had 50, 60 viewers right away. Then the stream grew. I enjoyed it. And then I eventually got back to competitive. I got second in a Grand Prix in France, and I got an invite to one of the arena tournaments, which I was able to parlay into change some invites, some good results. So I kind of got back into competitive, and I top 8 the first Pro Tour after COVID. That was in Philly, I believe. And since I've had like last year was the first year after COVID, I had like that top 8 and like a couple decent finishes. I qualified for Worlds. This year was a little rougher. I made day 2 of the first 2 Pro Tours, but didn't do great. I went 10-6 and 9-7, I think. And I needed to make day 2 in Amsterdam of the 3rd Pro Tour of the year, but I didn't. I missed day 2 for the first time since COVID. So so there's MagicCon Vegas in a few months, and that's where Worlds would be, but I'll not be there because I was really disappointing. I'm over it. I got over it fairly fast, but yeah, I was definitely pretty disappointed. But at the same time, I also didn't play that well this year, so not like I really deserved it or anything. But yeah, I have the stream. It's my full-time job, and then I go to the Pro Tours, and it's like kind of bonus income, I guess. If I do well, great. If not,
yeah.
So yeah,
you're not doing it for the money. I got you.
Well, yes and no. It's my job. I don't know, honestly, if it wasn't my job, I would probably still play Magic, but I don't know if I would play as much.
Right.
I'd probably play like way less, or it's so hard for me to say at this point, because it's been, it's my job, so it's hard for me to know what it'd be like if it wasn't my main source of income. And I definitely don't have the same passion I had 20-25 years ago, where I was literally all I thought about, all I did, scribbling deck lists during class and not paying attention and all that stuff.
Right.
Now I've other, a bit more balance in my life, and just not, definitely not the same.
Well, you've been doing it for 20 plus years though, and you've seen it all and done it all, and you've won the Pro Tour. Like, there's nothing you left on the table, right? Do you ever see yourself?
Well, the World Championship, I guess. But
right. Do you ever see yourself actually? Yeah, maybe in the future, like that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You got really close a couple times. Do you ever see yourself actually retiring, or you you have the dream job. Like, you're playing Magic for a living. Like, how cool is that, right?
Oh, I know.
So you're just gonna continue playing, man. Dude, yeah, the world's, what's it? I believe you got fourth. Yeah, it looks like you got fourth last time.
Yeah, I got a couple top fours and top eights at Worlds, but it's never never better than that.
Right.
No, I know how lucky I am, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
you know, I generally enjoy the stream too. I'm really lucky. I've been doing it for 7 years, but it's really fun. I have really cool community. Just people in the chat they're like fun and smart and fairly like-minded, and
Right.
that makes it so much easier. Like in 7 years, there was maybe like I think it was like a couple years in, maybe there was a few months where I was like kind of dragging my feet when I had to start the stream, and there was not much going on competitive wise, like format wise. That's the nice part about the stream and competitive Magic, is that I always kind of have a goal. I'm not just playing a new format for the sake of it. There's always a tournament to practice for, to look forward to, and I think in my case, anyways, that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting to know, like, I've never talked about him with him, but someone like Numa Danami, who's one of the biggest Magic streamers, maybe the biggest one,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really play a ton of competitive. He's qualified for a few Pro Tours, but I don't think he's like that's like one of his goals. But he also like streams a lot and been doing really well, and he does so. I wonder what keeps him going, if it's just this is his job or if there's more. So it'd be interesting to know. But for me, yeah, it's not. It's like kind of the whole thing is just works out really well, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really, yeah, I know. Like my wife always reminds me how good I have it.
Yeah, no, I get it. You get complacent. You've been doing it for so long. It's hard to get fired up about something new, But dude, that's awesome. I have to, before I let you go, man, I have to ask you. I have to. We got to do the story. Why does everybody call you Yellowhat? And is it just a picture and then it just blew up and that's what everyone calls you? Like, you have to give us the story on that, man.
So the story is just I literally wore Yellowhat at my first Pro Tour, and the American players started calling me Yellowhat. It was Eric Froelich claims he was the one who called me Yellowhat first. And the backstory is I used to love a hip-hop band, a French hip-hop band called the Cyan Super Crew, and they would always dress in yellow.
Okay.
So I started dressing in yellow, and for my birthday, my friend just got me that bucket hat that she spray painted in yellow, and that was my birthday gift. So I just wore it at my first Pro Tour, and
that's awesome.
yeah.
And now your name is Yellowhat.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was talking to my buddy. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm getting Nassif on the stream. And he was like, Yellowhat? I was like, I guess. I don't know. He's like, yeah, dude, that's Yellowhat. That guy's insane. And I'm like, okay, Yellowhat? I don't know. Like, do I call him Yellowhat? Do I call him Nassif? Man, that's Yellowhat. And I was like, okay. So everybody in the States knows you is Yellowhat.
I don't know what everybody in the States, but yeah, Yellowhat.
That's
Gabe, Gab, Nassif. It's just, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I got you. I appreciate, time's cutting short, but I do appreciate you getting on the podcast. And another thing you were saying is the love of Magic and your dream job is you're doing this podcast with me. Like maybe 10, 20, 50, 100 people are going to listen to it. So you're not doing this for the fun of, or you're not doing this to get anything out of it. You're doing this because you love Magic and you're trying to get it out there. And that's what I love. And I appreciate that more than anything, dude.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do enjoy talking about that stuff,
Yeah.
So, and if I can, I try to, help other people if I can help. That's cool too. You don't always want to do it. Sometimes there's stuff you don't want to do, or
right.
You don't always, but that I really enjoy doing. So I usually say yes when people ask me to have them on their podcast. So I'm happy to be here, and
right.
I hope I'll have to check out maybe some of
Yeah, man.
in the other apps.
And if you have any commander or dual commander questions in the future, you have my Discord. I'm in your Discord forever. I'm gonna post this in there. Hopefully we can promote this Discord a little bit. But
Yeah.
was there anything you wanted to plug or anything? I'm gonna put your YouTube channel and stuff down below. But other than that, is there any merch or anything?
No, some people want me to do merch. I always say people have enough stuff they buy and they don't need, so I don't want merch. But
I would love to buy yellow hats. Come on, man.
maybe I just don't have. I don't know. I'm not a business. I'm an entrepreneur mindset. But no, yeah, I stream most days on Twitch, twitch.tv/Yellowhat. So, and I have a YouTube, but I don't put a lot of work into YouTube. It's just mostly my streams that are edited and they go up on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to come and say hi on Twitch, and that's where I'm. That's where I'm every day.
Yeah, man. I did my research and I couldn't find one bad word in the community about you. Everybody thinks you're the best, you're the coolest, you're doing stuff like this, and you're one of the best Magic players ever. I know you're humble. I know you're not going to say it, but sometimes you got to let people know, dude, you're insane. I appreciate you doing the podcast. That's another podcast in the books. Thank you guys so much for listening. That's Gabriel Nassif for Yellowhat. I'm the Doom of Fools. You guys have a great day. Thanks for listening. See ya.